If you ask most players, they would rather play in the familiar comfort of their home climate. So I want to find out exactly how extreme temperatures can affect athletic performance. But for that, we have to do the one thing that I miss least about playing football, the dreaded bleep test. And honestly, as much as I would love to do it, I really would, this guy's going to do it instead.
The bleep test is done by putting two cones 20 metres apart, and you run between each cone to the sound of a bleep, and you start at 8.5 kilometres an hour, and every minute we increase it by half a kilometre until you can't make it between the cones. That tells us your bleep test score.
Danny is going to be performing 3 bleep tests, one on a damp London sports field, one in a sub-zero snow dome, and one in the baking heat of the Dubai desert. This is going to be hard, isn't it?
Tough.
I can see already.
The heat.
Danny Higginbottom is a trained athlete, so his capacity to do endurance running is very high. He'll have been doing bleep tests for over 20 years.
Now the wind comes.
It wasn't enough, was it, just to run in the heat? I thought I'd bring you a sandstorm as well. Wow, this is serious.
Starting to feel it a bit now.
When Danny's running in normal temperature, we can see that his heart rate increases to a level that is acceptable for Danny. When he's in the cold conditions, we also see that his body can tolerate working in these conditions. But as soon as he starts running in hot conditions, his unsuitability to that environment means that his heart rate spikes very, very quickly, and his body can't recover.
Give it whatever you can.
For a 37-year-old player, Danny has done very well in the test. His heart rate has gone very high, but he recovers very quickly. In the cold conditions, Danny still has a very high score, high 10s, until he goes into the challenging situations in the heat, and he can only run half the distance.
Oh dear.
You look shattered, mate. How was it?
It was cold when you start, but you are like now. Don't feel cold.
I mean, how did this compare today?
It's actually better.
Yeah?
All right, the temperature's cold, but there's no wind, there's no rain, so you can get into a bit of a rhythm.
You've done all 3 now. Out of the 3, would you say this was the hardest one?
I thought it would be the most difficult, but not by the distance that it is. It was ridiculous.
I mean, it's absolutely, it's roasting out here and it's seriously hot.
It was definitely the toughest one.
The effects of Danny's bleep test in the hot conditions tell us that the players need to be acclimatised to playing in hot conditions. Research tells us that they should be up to 2 weeks exposed to stressful weather conditions and high-intensity exercise, playing in heat that may be 10 or 15 degrees higher than they're used to.
I remember playing in Italy. Usually as a player, I wanted to create chances for myself and for my teammates. But I found out that you can only do that a couple of times in a very hot climate. So I had to choose the right situations. For me, it changed the way I am as a player.
The great Brazil we remember from 1970 with Pelé and Tostão and Rivellino, what we think of as being the most beautiful form of football ever played, was only possible because of the heat and the altitude in Mexico. So you couldn't press.
Well, Mexico '86 was incredibly hot. When I played in Monterrey, it was over 110. We were losing a stone per game. There's places in France, obviously, in the Euros where it's going to be hot down south. And you have to maybe adapt a little bit your tactics and certainly your preparation to those climates.